Welcome back to the Nullified Tech channel and also Reality Realness with 3S's here on YouTube, where we are back to talk about the Challenge USA episode 8. That's right, this is a trio that won't be broken up since the algorithm is gone. We're still here, we're still podcasting together. Chantal and Drew. Chantal, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I wanted to share something with you guys. So I went live after the episode to talk, obviously, about the most recent episode of the Challenge USA. And a person named Danny McRae was in the chat. And we're like, that's not him. That's not him. And we're like joking around with them. And like, I shouted you guys out. And I'm like, sure. I just mentioned that. Like, we didn't believe him at all. And I'm like, if it's really you, DM me. He DM'd me.
Awesome.
So we totally were not believing him, and he was having to prove it to us that it was actually him in the chat. But now we have like a little bit of a Twitter relationship. So, maybe we'll be seeing him on Reality Realist sometime soon, if we're lucky.
Chantal, you should have asked him to get Kiki to DM you after that. You would really miss him.
Do you know what, though? But Kiki probably wouldn't have been verified, so I wouldn't have known for sure. So...
That's fair.
Out perfectly.
That is fair. I don't know, Drew, if you can top that. How's things been on your end?
I cannot top that. It's going well, but not as well as Chantal. I mean, you got to get a hold of Kiki because she's his booker. So, I mean, if you want to get him on Reality Realness, you got to get a hold of Kiki.
Maybe I'll give it a go. I'll give it a try. Maybe I'll start a pod with Kiki. Me and Kiki.
I really just want to hear Kiki, commentate on everything Danny is doing on the show now, because he's so petrified of her judging him when he's out there. So I need to know, is she happy with how he's doing so far? I mean, there's going to be a bit of talk about Danny, I think, in this episode, especially towards the end. We'll talk about the big decision that he did not make of going down into the hall brawl, but that'll come in a little bit later on. But first, I want to say hello to everybody here in the chat. We've got our loyal listeners back here: Chris, Lovable Nikki, Taylor Glickman, Patricia Roses, Margie, Baby Ice, Taylor Glickman. Who else do we have here? Sudani Speaks and Margie so far. I'm sure there's more people that will start chatting very soon. Chris saying that you're now royalty. It's Queen Chantal getting a DM from Danny.
Yes! I've leveled up, everybody. Leveled up.
I'm surprised me and Drew even got you back on the podcast after that. You haven't forgotten us. It's like... Different podcast. Who this?
Exactly. I know where I came from. I'll never leave you guys behind.
That is good to hear. I kind of feel like I've been behind the 8 ball this whole time while on leave. I'm in South Africa. I'm not in front of my computer all the time. I'm definitely not checking out social media. So I'm constantly behind at the moment. And this is big news. I'm really excited for you. I'm really excited that Danny's reached out. I've seen him shout out Drew as well in the past, which is so cool that he's in touch with the community and someone that has actually watched the show before with Kiki, saying I'm out here and seeing this live happening in front of me.
Yeah, it's so fun. I mean, who knows what will be allowed with CBS according to this particular season, but I think it might be free reign for 38. So hopefully we have a lot of episodes to go through, I'm sure. So maybe out of those 19 episodes, maybe he can jump on with us or on Reality Realness for at least one. So fingers crossed. And maybe Kiki can come too. I'd love to hear her thoughts. That'd be a really good pod.
100% want to hear her thoughts after this season. And Taylor Glickman here says, and maybe we will jump into this big decision and sort of touch on it here. Danny's comments on the whole brawl on Chantal's live were very funny. It would be interesting to know, Chantal, what he said. And also after that, what did you guys think about him not going down there and potentially getting his money for the final?
Well, he wouldn't have had enough. Right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Still wouldn't have had. All right.
There was no point in him going down. But he basically says that he wasn't scared of anybody. It's basically
Obviously
what he alluded to. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Professional NFL player. I mean, when you had Enzo going back up saying, I was petrified that you were going to come down there and try and take me on. I get it. But very impressed by Enzo's gameplay here, because he had a lot of people who really didn't want to do him dirty this episode. So clearly, socially, he is making some inroads, and we're seeing why he was so effective at Big Brother. Some people like the gameplay, some people didn't like his gameplay, but clearly people like having Enzo around.
Enzo, he's pretty likable. Like he's kind of a caricature, he has that accent, he has his little isms. He's chill to be around. He's can be kind of gossipy in the sense that like he'll like have little funny things to say about people, so like he's just kind of like a fun person to be around, and you don't feel like he's over strategizing all the time. Like he's just easygoing. So I understand him like making friends with pretty much everyone there. Maybe the women not wanting to partner with him just because he's not necessarily physically that capable all the time. But for the guys, like A, the guys are going to want to run a final against him, and B, they like having him around. So I understand that from Enzo for sure.
Yeah, I think Enzo's two main things that he has going for him is one, he doesn't come off as a huge threat, and two, his age, because the biggest group, the strongest group in the house is Survivor, and they're significantly older. So he fits along with them and where they're at in their lives. So I think that really plays to his strength this season, at least, because he can really get on the same level as all of them. And it seems like Dom loves him. Ben loves him. I mean, everybody on Survivor loves him. So they're not wanting to get rid of him. And he's also proved that he's not a threat in any of the challenges. So, yeah, I mean, it works for him, and it's working for him at this point, and he's got his money now.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if he can find a way to the end on a third season. If he gets there, it'll be interesting to see him get to the end. But then potentially, I'm in agreement with both of you. I don't think he's winning this season. I don't think he's got it in him. I'm worried for Danny. He hasn't gone down there yet. He hasn't won a daily yet. I want him to do well. He's getting a big edit, so I kind of feel like he's going to be around for a bit. I just don't want this decision of not going down there and making this big splash, because I bet your production was like, we're getting Danny on this season. He's still in Hall Brawl for sure, and it's going to be such a big thing. Everybody's going to want to check it out because Danny, who's an NFL player, went down there to get some money. And I get it. He didn't get the money. But I don't want him to fail out after this and then we don't get him again because he didn't make the big TV move right here.
But we did have TJ preseason like talking up Danny's game. And so there must be a flashy move that happens or a big thing that happens. Like maybe he gets into the final. There's a new qualifier or something like that. He does the final and he beats everybody and it's shocking. Like I don't know what it is, but there's only 4 episodes left, I believe, or like 2 episodes and a double episode. And so he still has time to get his money to go and run the final. And so next week is what? It's going to be a girls' elimination. And the following is probably going to be both male and female. So probably the following week, he'll get his opportunity to go down there. And they have enough time to give him something that would be flashy, I think, as well.
Well, the good thing is that one, Danny isn't panicking, unlike Sarah, who I'm sure we will talk about. But Danny knows... Sarah Lucina. But Danny is looking around being like, everybody has money now. So if I lose the daily challenge, if I go into an elimination against any guy and he's not worried about going up against any guy, he's going to get money. Unlike Sarah, who's like pushing to go up against Enzo this episode and when he doesn't even have enough money. And we know there's going to be a women's elimination next episode.
And he can still win the daily.
And she pointed out that all the women are qualified and she's the only one that isn't qualified. So it was asinine. I know I'm jumping ahead, but it was asinine for her to be like, I want to be pushed into an elimination against somebody who doesn't have enough money when we know that the final isn't around the corner. There's a guy's elimination and then there's a women's elimination. Like there's going to be time. Cool your jets, relax, and either win or go in.
But and it doesn't even make sense too. Like I know she's like, oh, it'd be so epic, and she wants everybody to be like, oh my god, I can't believe she's the first person to ever in 39 seasons to go down and go against a guy. And it's like, well, they don't do that because how that's going to really offset the balance of the season. So what next week? How would that work? We're going to have more guys than girls, or depending on who wins, obviously. But say she wins. So then what happens next week when it's a girls' elimination? Anyways, TJ wouldn't have let that happen because he knows that that's stupid. And I'm happy that it didn't happen, but I kind of also wanted it to happen and then her to lose. You know the drill with me and Sarah.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely talk about it. And we might as well talk about it right now since it's been brought up. But I want to read a few comments here. Baby Ice, everyone always gets a chance to the final by the end of the season. Danny's time will come. We agree with that.
He's
And
probably winning the
also,
next daily. Like, that's what I feel right now.
also, I mean, it's interesting. I think someone here did say that if Danny doesn't go in or something, towards the end they'll just be like, okay, it's double or nothing now. You can make all the money in this elimination to get into the final. And that's when I was looking at Sarah and I was like, have you seen the challenge before? Have you seen a single season of it yet? Because if you watched the Skulls twist and everything that they've done in the past, it never really mattered. You never really needed to throw yourself in at the beginning because everybody gets a chance. No one has ever been eliminated on one of these shows because they didn't get the money, didn't get the skull beforehand. Going into a finale, like she will get her opportunity. But yeah, I wanted to say this, like just while we're on the topic of Sarah, right? You guys know me, like I'm a loyalist, like I'll stay with Sarah and but Sarah for me, she's been frustrating this season, 100%. Like going in, trying to throw herself in, doing this kamikaze mission, trying to run up against the guy in a hall brawl, and still thinking afterwards that you would win it. I agree with Esther here. She's delusional. Like, and also, what kind of president would this have set if suddenly females and men could compete against each other? We always talk about safety. Like, would you want to see, a Fessy run up against someone, any of the females, like a Casey? No, it's not an equal contest when it comes to the physical stuff. Maybe in the puzzles, maybe in the other stuff, I can see it. Not in the physical side of things. I'm not here for it personally. I wouldn't have enjoyed watching that.
Well, and Leo kind of talked about that in his exit press, is that the fact that you have weight classes for a reason. And we've talked about this before from another seasons and being like, he has, I think he said he has about Enzo has had about 60 pounds on Leo. And is that really a fair fight? And the reason why Enzo or Leo didn't come back and say, like, bye and like wave to everybody is because he was actually like being checked out for a concussion, and they said like, actually don't get up and move right now. And so like, I don't think that having people get a concussion is good TV for me. And also, the fact that like Sarah just wants to go down and like run through someone, put her hands and like, for me, I'm not into that. But I'm not into MMA fighting, I'm not into boxing, so it's just not something that I enjoy watching. But I definitely don't like the idea of people getting concussions and getting hurt. It just makes it dangerous in a way that, I don't know, it just takes away the fun for me of the challenge.
So this is like my least favorite episode of the whole season. For what happened in the episode, from the daily challenge being kind of mad, the hall brawl being just a complete wash, and then all the stuff we're hearing outside of the show as well. Because apparently Leo said, and Tyson also confirmed it on his podcast, that production told multiple people that there were going to be no hall brawls this season.
Oh, that's true.
That this was going to be completely different. Because people, I guess, once the challenge called them or got a hold of them, they were like, oh, I'm going to go watch whatever I can find on Paramount Plus. They saw the hall brawl and they were kind of like, is that going to be a thing? I don't necessarily want to go and do that. And they said, no, there's absolutely no hall brawls. This is going to be completely different. This is a spinoff. And then lo and behold, this episode happens and it's a complete massacre and somebody does get injured. And it's tough because we see somebody getting a concussion, or we hear him talking about like, I would love to have said goodbye, but yet the edit is manipulated in a way to make him look like a sore loser and like storming off because he didn't want to be out there. Yet that wasn't the case at all. And so to me, it's like, okay, so one, they don't care about whatever they show because they're going to manipulate it, because they're not going to call Leo ever again. So they're like, this is a swan song. We're never going to call him back for a season 2, which they probably will do another season 2 if they can get enough people. And they're like, we'll just manipulate the episode at the ending. We don't want to show that he got a concussion and was taken off in an ambulance, because we don't want that to have that look on CBS, or when we call people for season 2 and they're going to be wondering if there's going to be a hall brawl. And I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me. It just seems weird. It seems muddy. It seems shady in a little bit. Like, I just don't like that. Let's not forget
that they also really shaded him in, I feel like, the previous episode with the business thing, like making him look like he's a bad business person, not knowing what he's doing there. And there was a lot of things going on behind the scenes, apparently, and even on that side of things that didn't pan out for him when he was actually on the show, where they promised him certain things and that didn't happen. Like, he couldn't deal with his business stuff while he was on the show, which apparently he was going to be able to do. So I don't feel good about how these people have been treated this season, Chantal, and no wonder we're getting some of these players or contestants coming out not talking too fondly about the show at this stage, which is a shame because we want to attract more. In my opinion, the cast has been a success in the sense that it's given us a lot of entertainment and enjoyment. And if you're not a super fan, you didn't look for all these extra answers, you wouldn't know all these things.
Well, and even with like how they're portraying Leo, you know, he says that the snakes line was from when he said the snake stuff with the Tyson throwing him down, and like after him and Sarah came back, and so all that snake talk was from then. And so a couple of episodes, or at least maybe a week, has gone by since then, and they're reusing it to fit the narrative of him being a sore loser and not wanting to say goodbye to people. And I'm like, that's just like, it doesn't sit well with me. And then also, with how Tyson was speaking about how, you know, the challenge is not as superior as Survivor in terms of competition. I think it's coming down to these hall brawls and these physical competitions. Like, yeah, on Survivor, you have like the matchups where it's like you put two guys against each other to push each other off into the water or whatever it is. Definitely sometimes you have some sort of head-to-head combat, but it's not that often. And I think it's because people get hurt. And so I think that could also be why Tyson is speaking of like, hey, maybe things aren't that safe on the challenge. Like, Hall Brawl isn't safe unless people are both trained in how to be impacted and impact others. And it's kind of like knowing how to fall properly. Like, if you don't fall properly, you can break bones, break your neck. Like, there's a lot of things that go into being safe, and I don't know if they've taken that into consideration with the CBS cast. So yeah, I'm not happy hearing that they said no Hall Brawl and then there's Hall Brawl. And did they say no pole wrestle? Because we know that that's next week.
I don't know about that, but I do want to speak on Tyson a little bit because I've been listening to his podcast a few times now. I didn't listen this week, but I listened this week. And I get the feeling that one, it's the Hall Brawl. I think he would have walked if he would have gotten last place or would have been thrown in. I think he would have walked because he said that no amount of money is worth a concussion. So he said that if he were to go down there, he wouldn't have probably done it. Like, and if he were to go in there again later and it was a Hall Brawl, he's like, I probably wouldn't do it. And then on the second one is, I get the feeling that it's the lack of transparency in the daily challenges and who wins, because there's been a couple of times where he's questioned like, oh, because Amelia would be like, oh, well, Leo got second place. And Tyson will be like, yeah, I'm sure he did, kind of thing, where he's like, everybody's going at different times, different intervals. They could have said something just because Leo's going into the elimination later, or his number could be up. So, we'll just say he got second place, even though maybe he didn't, type of thing. So
yeah, because Leo was kind of saying that he thought that he beat Ben in that one, that he was faster. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
so I think with Survivor, everybody goes at once in a lot of the challenges. Everybody's holding up a stick. Everybody's having to try to balance the blocks. Everybody is doing something. So it's clear to see who's in the lead, who gets the win. It's not different intervals and somebody with a stopwatch, basically. So I think that also leads to the factor of his critique on the challenge and being like, I don't know.
Well, that's our critique too, right? We're always like, show us the times. Show us the times. I want to see them. Like, give me a stopwatch, like something.
I think the point is they don't have it. They don't have the times there. They're just like, I think this one may be a good one for Ben to win because Ben spoke to production this episode, and not taking away what he went through. And you guys know how I feel about Ben. I want to know how you feel about Ben after this episode. But I think that the storyline itself, it fitted for Ben to win this one. So again, did Ben really win this one? Was he really the fastest? Or were they like, it's so close between, Ben and Danny, or so close between Ben and whoever, and we're just going to give him this because it's going to be such a great storyline. And I feel dirty and icky for thinking that because of the real life thing behind Ben's story and why he did it this episode, because I don't want to take away from that. I don't want to take away from his experience in winning this, because I do think that, for me personally, I'm a little bit biased. I think that the storyline was a beautiful one to show Ben in a different light to maybe a lot of people who haven't liked Ben in the past. But I don't know. I can't speak on your behalf. How did you feel about this episode?
Well, I mean, as soon as I saw what he was going through when he was pacing at 3:30 in the morning and talking about his friend that had passed, and that it was the anniversary of his passing, I was like, okay, Ben's winning this daily. Like I already knew that. And so the fact that watching it, yes, he was fast, but I did feel like other people seemed to be faster. It kind of aligns with what you're saying there, is that maybe, the difference was between 1 and 2 seconds. Let's just give Ben the win, as nobody will know. It's not that different. And the story isn't as good, if like he comes in second and he's doing this on his friend's behalf. And so I 100% think that they might have, give him an extra second, shave an extra second off of his time to let him have the win, to have a complete storyline. I'm fine with him winning. Like, I do think that I expected him to be qualified to run the final. So it doesn't really bother me that much. But if I was Leo or somebody that might have beat him, maybe I would have been a little bit more irritated.
Yeah, I agree. Patricia seems to agree as well, saying all the talk of production fudging stuff up makes me wonder if Ben really won. I agree with you, Chris, about the importance of the storyline of that episode for him to win. And I think that it was an important episode for me personally. It showed maybe a little bit of what Ben goes through when he goes onto these shows. They touched on it a little bit on Survivor the first time he was out there. I remember him sitting close to the campfire and there was the crackling of the wood, and it gave him PTSD thinking about like gunfire and things like that. So these veterans, they do go through things that we as civilians will never understand, and maybe that is why they can come across differently on the show. And this is speaking as someone who's got no experience and have never fought a war in his life, and hopefully I don't ever have to. You never know with times these days and how things are going. But I'm happy that Ben had this moment, and I don't want to take away from the win. It's great that he got out there and won this, and that he got to show a little bit of a different side. I was really happy, Drew, also to see that when he was talking about it, that it seemed like the whole cast was really embracing the whole thing when they had the drink and they were out on the party scene as well, which, we've been slamming them for not giving us that. At least we got a little bit of that. Well, I guess they needed to show it for the storyline, I feel like, but yeah.
Change of locations, we'll say, with alcohol.
Yeah, no, I like Ben's storyline this episode. Like, it made me like root for him to get the win, or at least go into the elimination and get the win. But I don't know. Like, this just wasn't the episode, in my opinion. Like, they had the heart, they had the scenery. It was just the daily challenges and the eliminations. Like, Tyson mentioned how pissed production was that nobody tried to sabotage during the daily challenge. Oh. They were just trying to wipe off all the soap, and they were spraying into the river, which at that point you should just not even have it in
production.
There.
You're dumb then. Like, obviously they're going to game you guys. Like, they're going to figure out what's going to be more helpful for them. So,
but also the pairings were horrible. Having Angela there with Tyson, having Sarah there with Ben, like, who in production signed off on this? Like, did no one think about this?
How do you think that they got matched up? I was trying to figure out what if it was just random like that happened, like the order.
It just seemed so convenient that it happened to be allies that were doing it, and it took away from some of the fun. We didn't even get to see them spray each other out there. It was all the kitty gloves were on, basically.
Well, it also didn't make sense because I get it that it was like Heat 1 were the men running, and then they would swap, and then whoever did Heat 1 would spray for Heat 2 for the women. But it didn't make sense that they would have women spraying men and men spraying women when you're trying to win a spot in the whatever they're calling it, the power couple, and you have to go up against the men. It just doesn't make any sense. Why weren't Tyson and Dominic trying to spray Enzo and Ben? Right. Why not that? That would make more sense to me. Men trying to sabotage men, women trying to sabotage women, instead of the opposite, where it's like, I don't care who goes in for the women at that point. Like, why would you care? Like, if they win, then they're gonna throw me in because it's a guy's day. So it's pointless for me to sabotage any of the women, and it's pointless for the women to sabotage any of the men. at that point.
Like they might have gotten what they wanted and it might have been hilarious. People are going to be annoyed that I'm going to say this, but like if it was say like Angela and Alyssa and they had to spray Sarah and I don't know, Desi, and like they actually made them DQ, like Sarah would have been furious, so they would have gotten the reaction that they wanted, and I
Would have
think I
been
would have enjoyed that. Yeah, exactly. Like,
would have gone off the charts. But no, I mean, for me, the most exciting thing of the daily was actually seeing Tyson work Dom and be like, "Hey, you need to help Angela." And Dom's like, "I don't trust Angela. She's already thrown me down there once. Tyson's thrown me down there once, and now suddenly he wants to work together." And then Dom being like, "I need to throw him a bone, show that I'm going to play ball, but it might be my undoing." I was very impressed in Tyson doing that. And then also the Angela Tyson dynamic and how they work together. It has been impressive this season. Like in my mind, I feel like I'm watching Tyson and Angela's way to the end winning this thing at this point. That's really what I feel like I'm seeing based on what we've seen. They had both been really impressive, but Tyson's ability to work Dom was also very interesting to see for me this episode. More so impressive than the actual challenge, the actual daily.
what do you think about Sarah feeling as though Angela hasn't proven herself yet and that she's had an easy ride?
I don't. I mean, listen. I saw Chris or someone in the comments here saying like I thought Chris was going to come out here and defend Sarah. Like I still like Sarah's cool. Like I mean, she brings something to the TV. The challenge has not been her best one yet. Like I will say, this has been her worst outing so far from anything that I've seen up until this point. And she admits it herself. She's admitting she has failed. She has not gotten. I think she's got an insecurity about her. She thought she was going to be the alpha female coming into the season. But let's be honest, Angela is the alpha female. In fact, she is probably the alpha player at this stage because she has won the most. Like, I mean, anybody would be intimidated by that. But how can I defend Sarah when Angela is just mopping the floor with her at this point? I mean, it's pretty obvious for everyone to see.
And then also the Love Island girls kind of chirping her, just reminding her, like, hey, do you realize you're the only female that has not qualified yet? Sorry, I just find it that's funny because like everyone was counting out all the Love Island girls as to being like, you know, Dom didn't want to be partnered with any of them. And, you know, nobody felt that they were going to be competitive and someone that they were going to want to work with. And they're all qualified and Sarah isn't. I mean, she's going to get qualified. She's going to run the final, but.
Such a trash take from Sarah being like, that Angela hasn't done anything to prove herself. If anything, really? Angela has done so much better. I mean, she's done better as a partner to win 2 daily challenges with partners. She's done better solo-wise, her social game to help to have Tyson spray off all the soap and now make this deal with all the Survivor guys, which I'm hoping brings a lot of drama. Like, just the level of stupidity in this episode emanating off the TV from Sarah in all aspects. Like, I just don't understand where her brain is. I don't think I've seen this side of her on Survivor. Like, Survivor really must have really edited that up to make her seem a lot more there and put together on this island, because put her in a warehouse with a whole bunch of other people and she is freaking out. Like, just the desperation and the panic is set in to where she is not thinking straight. I'm sure some of these confessionals are done after the season. So she's still sitting there being like, oh, Angela hasn't done anything when she has 16 grand in her bank account. Like, dog, sit down. You're done. Like, you're done.
Tatiana said, what does Angela have to prove to Sarah? Anyways, she doesn't have anything to prove. But one of the things for me, and while we're on the subject of Angela, you know, again, her gameplay has been impressive this season. I don't think I saw this side of gameplay in her Big Brother season when she played the first time around, because she had other people with her like Tyler and Casey, and probably Tyler being such a dominant player that season. She kind of relied on him for a lot of the strategic thinking, but she does play the challenge really well. She's in this winning position with Ben, who she's never had to talk to before. She talks to Ben and she uses this as an opportunity to say, let's form something here. I'll look after Alyssa. Alyssa will probably win something in the future as well. She's been more than impressive at this stage. We'll keep all the Survivor guys safe if you keep us safe and you don't throw us in first. I really enjoyed seeing Angela work the room. I have not seen, and I agree with Drew, I've not seen Sarah even doing that, she's known as a great strategic player in her season. She's a social threat in her season that she won, and she was really good at Winners of War. Let's not take that away from her. But Angela is really just winning at the dailies. She's winning at the social game. She's winning at the strategy at this point as well, Drew. So it is, to me, it's one-way traffic.
I would say that Angela is playing a very similar game to her Big Brother season, because I think Tyson is mainly her social capital in the game. I mean, that was Tyson, or not Tyson. What was her? Tyler. Tyler. Well, she loves ties.
You can easily
ties. But
long blonde hair ties.
Yeah. There we go.
Air signs. Tyson,
Tyler.
ties.
Tyler was her social capital to get her into an alliance, and then she pretty much stayed on that side forever and didn't really talk to the other side of the house. And then this season, I feel like she did the same thing. She's gotten good with Tyson. She's doing well. We even remember last episode when it was, or not last, I don't remember. Dom and Kayla were in power, and then she was like, "Oh, I have to talk to them. I haven't really talked to Dom and Kayla. I didn't need to talk to them." So she's not necessarily the social butterfly in the game, which I think was the same thing for her Big Brother season. So I feel like she's playing a very similar game. She's just being able to dominate in this game, getting good partners, having a good social capital with Tyson, and not having Casey on the season, who was an absolute beast in competitions on Big
She was
Brother.
a pretty good beast as well. Like the three of them, Tyson, Casey, and herself, like won pretty much all of the competitions after the merge. So like she definitely contributed to having all the power on that side. I was actually Team Faute. I was like, come on, I was rooting for Fessy. You know, like before, but he had the
Drew is out. Drew has left the building.
But he actually, like, he ruined the season in my opinion because he made the most bonehead move. So, because like when he voted out Scotty, I was like, "You're."
How's this not a surprise? I was not Team Faute. I was Team Tyler and Angela and Casey that season. Like we're always
like, no, I want the underdog.
I feel like it's been a couple of months since myself and Chantal have agreed on anything on this podcast. But no, I think we do agree that Angela is killing it this season. I do think that at this point, like, I would much rather have Angela on the main show than a lot of these Big Brother players. But I do think.
I was just going to say, though, there's some people that have been saying in my comments that they don't like Angela at all because they feel as though she's boring, and that her confessionals aren't good. And I'm like, I think I enjoy what Angela brings. Like, she's not like a hello.
Audio. I think you just killed your own audio when you shouted at it.
It usually pops up, and Drew's going like this before it like popped up on my side. Like you guys had a heads up of when my audio went down. Weird. So yeah, no, they don't find her to be entertaining at all, and I'm like, I find her to be. I enjoy watching her. I like the fact that she doesn't back down. I like the fact that she's not afraid of doing any daily. I don't think she's afraid of going into an elimination either. I enjoy what Angela brings to the table, but some people think she's boring. So what do you
listen? I was gonna say just before you sort of went on, I didn't want to stop you. I think she would do great on the main show, better than some of the current Big Brother players that are there. But then I was going to say, you need a Tyson, you need a Tyler, you need somebody that she can work with to bring the social side. But I don't mind the Ice Queen. I think the Ice Queen has a place within the cast, as long as not every single person is the Ice Queen. I think she does, in my opinion, a better job at being the Ice Queen than Casey. I think she's got a bit more bite to her. And like Casey is just too... I don't know how to put it. She's like water. She just bends and molds with anyone, you know. What's that Bruce Lee thing? You know, if you take water, put it in the cup, you become the cup. That's kind of Casey, really. She just fits in. But it's bland without a kick, where at least Angela is bland, but she's got a bit of a kick to her. I think this Sarah and Angela rivalry could be an interesting thing as well in the future. And Drew, you just look very disgusted with everything that I've just said.
I'm completely on the opposite of y'all. Like, I do not want Angela. I think she's boring. I mean, when she's in the confessional, she's like, I have to win this I can't let Sarah win this. I'm going to make a deal with Ben and the Survivor guys, where at least Casey is up there being like, this is a circle, this is a square kind of thing. Like, she can have those animations. We just haven't seen them on the challenge. I think that both are very comparable to.
You like Casey better than Angela?
I don't want either on the challenge main season. I would rather both of them not be on this thing, but I would rather have Casey on the season, preferably without Josh or Fessy, than say Angela, who is, oh, I am going to do my best to hang around and do this thing. Whenever she's on the screen, she's just not compelling for me, in my opinion.
I still like her.
I
can picture hanging out with her. I think is probably why. Like, I know the type of girl she is, and I don't mind her. I think she's kind of like, she's kind of funny behind the scenes. Like, I can picture her like being somebody that like one-on-one she's like funny with, you know what I mean? But she's not like a ta-da, like I need to be the center of attention all the time.
Look at us, Chantal. We're going 2 for 2 here, agreeing on another thing. That's great. Tatiana Judge is saying, lol, if Angela is the ice queen, then what is Sarah? I want the sour queen? I don't know. She just seems sour. I don't know if she's like ice, to be honest.
What is she? Petty queen? Jealousy queen?
You do have support. You do have support, Drew. There's some support. I promise you, I wasn't just picking everybody saying yes, Angela would be good on the show. I was looking for some that were agreeing with you as well, because I'm sure there are some people who would rather just not see her or any Big Brother player on the challenge if they can. I think most people would probably say yes. We don't want to see more Big Brother players actually on the show. But going back to the challenge, we had the daily. Enzo gets out there. He hurts himself. He ends up having to get stitches, and he becomes a bit of a wounded man walking here this episode. I don't know how you two felt, but I was kind of fearful that this could be Enzo's, his ticket out of the game. And I know you probably have less invested in Enzo this season compared to myself, because he is still one of my picks, even though he was one of my later picks. I was starting to get very nervous when he got this injury, and he is on the older side. I was nervous that he was going to go up against someone that was going to knock him out of this game. How did you guys feel about this? And about, I guess, some of the fails we saw early? Enzo at least didn't go completely off it. At least all the guys finished it. But we did have a few people also struggling on this slippery challenge right from the start. I believe Desi went straight in, and Kayla, in very slow motion, went straight into the water as well.
I know he said he got 2, but he wants to tell everybody he got 3 stitches because it's a little bit like shows that he's tougher. But like, I don't know if I'm just like not a wuss in those type of situations. Like, I just don't think the 3 stitches would stop me or make me scared of going down. I just don't think that would it hurt that much. Like, I don't know. Am I just not understanding what 3 stitches would actually be? How deep the cut would be? Like, I feel like I've gotten cut that deep and it didn't really matter. You know what I mean?
And it was on his shin. Like, the strange thing for me is when he got cut, it looked like it was on his shin. So I was like, is there even skin to like stitch together on your shin? And also, I would have been more worried about the fact that it was going to swell really badly, which would make him immobile, like not being able to move freely. And maybe that was what the concern was. It wasn't really explained, but the blood was definitely on his shin on the challenge.
I don't know. I've scraped my.
I'm not a doctor. We need Desi. We need Desi on this podcast to help us out.
Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't seem like that big of an injury. Like, I've definitely scraped my shin before, and it didn't stop me from doing anything. We'll just say that.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And then just the Kayla and Desi. Yeah, I mean, they were the only ones that DQ'd, and everybody else was spraying off the soap. So it was you could have put a slip and slide with some soap on the grass, and it would have been the same for me. Like, it would have held the same amount of worry that I had for the folks, which were not existent. It was just people walking back and forth on this giant runway. At least we got some people. That would have been kind of fun
if it was a slip and slide, where they were on like a hill and they had to slide down one way, but then like kind of shimmy back up. That would make it a little bit more difficult, and it wouldn't be more fun to watch. Sorry.
Yeah, I would have welcomed that at 100%. I mean, they did that in the duel, I believe. So, I mean, I would have definitely 100% would have want that instead of what we got.
Yeah. Tatiana here says the women didn't want to run a final with Leo, but I would much rather run a final with Leo than Enzo. Leo is agile, quick, and at least he tries. And I will say one thing, there were times early in the season when we were looking at Leo and we're like, something feels off about him, like the way the confessionals are going. Maybe he's just not like he was on The Amazing Race. But I kind of warmed up to him towards the end, and he was starting to really own this role as this boisterous, larger than life type of character running out there. I mean, he had a lot of confidence going into this daily. He ended up doing a lot better than what people thought. I kind of felt like he left when I started seeing him do well or get used to the challenge. So it's a shame to hear that he potentially won't come back. But what do you guys think about this comment about rather running with Leo than Enzo?
The reason why I would rather run with Enzo is just because he's taller and a little bit bigger. If there's anything that you have to do where you have to maybe hoist anybody up, yes, he did win that arena with Alyssa, but they're both quite small. If there was any other women that he had to hoist up, he might have had a little bit more trouble. So just size-wise, both, it's kind of like the lesser of two evils in this case, but I think that I would go with Enzo just because he has a little bit more body, more height and a little bit more density, and it just might be a little bit easier to do some of the partnered things.
I think both Catmen are very similar of competitors. Both don't like open water. They're not great in the water, but to me, I think Leo actually tries. He actually did the swinging from the one crate to the platform in the middle. He does have a good attitude, and we've seen his puzzle skills. I mean, when he was in that elimination with Sarah, he was able to be like, let's have this strategy and let's do it. And it ultimately helped them win the elimination. So I would want his puzzle skills. And I think that they both have very similar agility, speed, endurance. I just don't think that the Meow Meow is going to be really helping me do much if some of the eliminations he's winning is moving tires and doing a hull brawl. I mean, that's very impressive. The hull brawl, not okay. Neither one was super impressive, but I think I would much rather be with Leo on that one.
But I'm also thinking my puzzle skills are pretty good, so I'll just rely on myself for the puzzles, and hopefully Enzo can hoist me up if I need be.
I will say this: what if? Okay, so both of the guys, you're running with both of the guys in the final. Both of them go down. I mean, which one could you carry the most? I mean, you could probably carry Leo more than the Meow Meow.
Angela definitely would throw him right on her back, and she would run up there. Would it be Kenny style with Wes on his back, if I remember correctly? It'll be that will be what we would be seeing. I'm very confident of that. But I guess one of the things we haven't spoken about is that in this episode, we finally see the shake-up, the algorithm is out, and we see some individual pairings going in. Do we think that they're going to stick to this format now of individuals, or do you think we get back to the finale, we see the normal different people pair up at different parts of the game? And who does this new format most benefit now that we see some individuals in the game, and no longer there's this whole thing about having to have Dom in your team if he's potentially going to slow you down on the challenges? So who are the people that we think will benefit from this, or I guess struggle? I think Dom probably is in for a bit of hurt now that he's going to have to do a lot of this on his own.
Yeah, I think, sometimes your partner was helping them. Like, for instance, Cachet, right? There's no way that she was going to be winning that daily if she wasn't partnered with Tyson. But if she had to do that daily by herself, she would have been in last place most likely and gone into the arena. And who knows if she would have won. And so I think some of the people that did better because of partners and they have to kind of prove themselves, it's going to be very apparent who got help and who was the powerful force in their duos or twosomes. So I think that, people players like Cash will see, Dom maybe, depending on what it is, even Enzo, a lot of the guys I feel like are going to be shown that the women were the most helpful part of their duos. Justine seemed to be a really powerful pairing for some of these guys. Obviously Angela, that we know, even Alyssa, she might be small, but she's definitely been helpful with her partnerships. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's definitely going to show us who is really good on their own and who was getting help from their partner. I think that it's going to stay this way for the next 2 episodes. And I do think that because they had let it in the edit let them say all the time, like, oh, I don't want to partner with them. No, I don't want to run with them. It seems like they know something about the format. And so I really would imagine that they're going to be switching out partners. Still solo kind of, but like switching out partners, maybe having different times, your own time, but different partners. Maybe they'll do something like that. But I do think that partners will come into play in the final.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would love like a free agents where we're swapping partners every single like checkpoint or in All Stars one. I think that was a really great final setup with points and times, and or what I would think would be really interesting to do is that if they were to lock in with partners, first of all, I want the changing of the partners every checkpoint. I would love that. But if they didn't do that and they decided to do something where they have to partner up and they have to pick partners heading into the finals, I would love it. Whoever has the most money and then go by that. Like how many times you won a daily challenge or an elimination, however many people had the most money, let's let you get to pick your partner first and you can pick whoever you want type of thing. And then you get to run the finals with them. I think the first part would be a lot more fair because everybody gets everybody for different rounds. And I always like those challenges. They either help you or hurt you. Corey and Camilla in Invasion of the Champions, where she got the worst partners at the worst times, or you get some players that are really, really good and absolutely smokes everybody in the eliminations in the finals. So, but I would, if the money has to play a part in it, because I don't think they get to keep the money at the end. So I think if the money has to play something, it would be interesting that if whoever has the most money can pick whoever they want to be partnered up with or get to choose their partner first.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
I hope if they make it to the final, though, they get to keep the money. Just because what TJ has been saying is that you're leaving here empty-handed. They're going to take all your money. They're going to steal all your money. And so money is the qualifier. Yes, we know that. But he does make it seem like they get to keep this money that they are accruing. So I hope that if they run the final, like, yes, if you're the top male and top female, you get to share the $500,000. But then also I hope that if you place in the final, you get to keep your bank. I hope so.
I just have a feeling that's not going to end well for people. I just have a feeling that they're going to be losing this money at the end, and that maybe that's why there's some hurt feelings out there from certain players that went out there and they maybe had an expectation that they may have some money by the end of the season. But, you know, I think one of the things, it's kind of a running theme whenever we speak about any of these shows, we kind of always say they should make it a bit more transparent for us as the viewer as to where the show's going to go. So at least we've got an idea, and maybe even to some of the players. Like if they do know that we're going to go back to pairs in the finale, at least people will be thinking differently about the game. And they might say, we still need to target Dom because he could, you know, not that I'm saying Dom is bad on everything. He might be good at puzzles or doing math, but how's he going to do running up a mountain? You know, do you want to be with him on something that's going to be cardiovascular? No. So that at least that way people can still plan for that. They can still vote against it, and it can become a part of the game and the strategy and how they play it. But that transparency, sadly, even after so many seasons, I know they don't listen to these types of podcasts. Maybe one or two producers or production people at some point will listen to some podcasts. I wish they listened to this one, because we've been saying this over and over, Chantal, and they still haven't changed. They probably never will.
I know. And it's like, I guess they don't value strategy. Because, like, I love giving these players information so that they can strategize and make moves and play the game. What I think ends up happening when people don't know all the rules is that they play scared, and so they don't make that big move because they don't know if it's going to bite them in the butt. And I think that is worse for, you know, entertainment. And so, like, we're always like, we want players to make big moves and do big things, and they try to change the format by, like, make them have to go down and skulls and qualifiers and all this stuff. But if you just gave them a little bit more transparency as to what is to come, you would see a lot of big moves being made, because they're like, we don't want this to happen because we know down the road that we're going to have to run with him. Like, let's get him out now. We have a shot. Let's band together, get him. Like, I think that they'll have more of those opportunities where people will start working together to strategize to get an outcome when they know what they're working with. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been frustrating, right? Christina B here says challenges become less transparent as the years have gone on. Also, a very interesting comment here, or question, I should say, Tatiana asking, can anyone even beat Angela if they made it to the final, I think the answer is yes, somebody can probably beat it. Is it likely? No. I don't think at this stage I've seen anything. I mean, I don't know. Like,
But I
Alyssa
think
said
it could
she
be
can run a
the
lot.
partnership situation, right? If she gets the wrong partner for certain checkpoints, that could ruin her time. If this is how the format's going to be, like if she gets someone that
Also-
can't swim on the swimming portion, or someone that doesn't
Yeah.
or isn't good at puzzles and she's not able to help them, or you know what I mean? Like there could be times where she had to work with somebody on the wrong thing at the wrong time that could definitely hurt her.
Also, and I just had a light bulb moment that just went on. Yes, she can. Someone can beat her. Production can beat her. What if there's an eating challenge at the end? Because she's a vegan and she is like an advocate for being a vegan, right? She she does not
She
eat
has like cookbooks
anything.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
So I think Angela, sadly, like she might get to a point at the end if there's an eating portion where she will feel like, and people will hate her for this, but she's going to think she's above it. And probably wouldn't want to eat it, or it will be something against her morals or whatever she believes in. And that's, if that happens, I will be so sad because she's dominated this season. I don't want her to go out on a technicality, and that's why I believe get these people, if this does happen, and I hope I don't manifest this, I hope this does not happen to her. She's not on my team, but I want the best people to win because we want to see them play in the global showpiece. And at this stage, it would feel empty without Angela in it. So I hope that they do look at doing something to sort of compensate for people who can't eat meat and stuff like that. We knew, or we know that
hot
Naya had an issue.
peppers, right? Like the
Naya
ghost
had an
peppers,
issue,
whatever.
right?
Like do the ghost peppers then if you can't do
Exactly.
when there's people
Take a
that
penalty.
have food. I hope
Take
they
a
can take
take a penalty. Yeah, like I just hope that's not. I hope I don't manifest this thing. That's the only thing
Well,
I can see for Angela.
I've always been worried about that because I know that she's like a hardcore vegan, and we've heard that the food has been a problem on this season. I believe Kira was also a vegan. That's why she was sick from the food that she was receiving on the show. And I'm assuming maybe Angela was also sick, but we just didn't see it because it had nothing to do with the storyline. But I've always been worried that at the final that there's going to be an issue with Angela being somebody that won't be able to eat food. There's always something in my cerebellum. And that could also be what Tyson was pissed about with like the show, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, this isn't like new though to the challenge. I mean, we just saw it in All Stars 3. They knew Nehemiah is a vegan and they gave him a whole bunch of animal parts to eat. Back in season 8, they had to eat meat taquitos, and that Katie was a vegetarian for like 15 years. DM was a vegetarian, and they made her eat animal fat on top of a mountain. They just don't. They're just like, we want to do what we want to do, and screw anybody who says less. If you really want the money and you really want the thing, you would do it. Like you would just do it. Like they're like peer pressuring and laundering money over people's head to just do it. Just eat it.
Yeah, it sucks.
Eat gross stuff. Eat it.
Like that's one thing I know about myself. I know Chantel is like, Chris, me and you will go do the Amazing Race in Australia so we can qualify for the challenge in the future. I'm like, I will die if I get to the final and I have to eat that crap. There's just no way. That's like my weakness.
Oh, you wouldn't eat it? Like I'm vegan and I would eat it still.
I feel like if it was on the Amazing Race, I would eat most of the things they put on the Amazing Race because it's not that bad, right? Like, I mean, eat a couple of maggots, whatever. I feel like the challenge just goes completely overboard with grossness, and it's also the sheer volume of it. It's like, how do you get all of that in your stomach? Like, I just don't. I think I would absolutely suck at it if I got to a final and I had to do that. That would be like my Achilles
Remind
heel.
me to get you out before you get to the final. I'm gonna be like,
like
everybody, I know Chris won't be able to eat any food. We got to get him out before he gets to the final. Let's group together. Let's get him out of here. It's gonna ruin. We're gonna lose because of Chris.
Jeez. Like, honestly, I feel for people like they might be the perfect challenger, but if you don't have that element to you, you're out. It takes a different kind. You have to be a different breed, you know. Like Nehemiah, hats off to him for doing that. You know, like someone said here earlier in the chat, you know, vegans take that stuff very seriously, the fact that they don't eat meat. So it's tough. It's tough when you get down to it, and that's the thing that potentially could be why you don't actually go all the way to win this thing. But let's have a quick chat about the elimination here. Obviously, Enzo and Leo goes up against each other in a hall brawl. Did you guys notice anything differently to this hall brawl? To me, it seemed like they were standing a lot closer to the actual.
They shortened the runway. I think that maybe to make it less dangerous, because Leo was saying that people were saying like go down, but there was like actually not enough time for him to like, you know, pick up some speed and go down, like he was already at and so by that time. And so I think that they shortened the runway, I guess, of it, just to lessen the sheer impact of the hit, or the what would be the sheer force of the hit. Yeah, it was definitely shorter, way shorter.
Yeah, it was.
I love this comment. I love this comment. Sorry, I know it's completely off topic, but Struggling at Art says, you don't eat, just pretend and throw up like Corey. That's what he does every season when he's out there. He's just like, I tried, you know. Sorry, apologies, Drew. I completely got into your...
But it was very reminiscent to Battle of the Seasons, the first season that had a hall brawl where they made everybody stand at the gate of the hall brawl and then just go. And it was very short. So I think they were going back to like the old way of what the hall brawl was, instead of having people like take the running start, hit into each other at full force type of thing right in the middle. So I think they were trying to make it seem like, oh, we're bringing back a classic, but it just did not work out.
No, sadly not. Russell Muscle TV back in the chat. Hello, Russell. Cheering for Tyson the entire way through. I think there's quite a few people who are cheering for Tyson at this stage. If there is any Survivor fans that are listening to this, Russell Muscle and Flynn Masters will be hosting the very first countdown for Survivor rankings, for the top Survivor rankings, I believe in an hour from now, either on the Russell Muscle TV or Flynn Masters YouTube channel. Peridium, I believe, is on this first one as well with them. And I forgot who the other person is. Sorry, Russell. But there are going to be a few YouTubers chatting about that over the next 4 weeks as we go into season 43, which should be exciting to see if it's all that different from some others. Like Rob has a podcast. I think there may be some differences in the rankings. Who knows? Going back to this, though, I think that, yeah, the whole brawl definitely seemed different. They didn't seem like they had that same momentum. It seemed like no one was really fully into this one as well. And it kind of felt like a bit of a letdown. Enzo really just overpowered Leo throughout this. And knowing how it ended with Leo not even being there at the end to say goodbye to everyone, I don't know. I felt hollow about this. This was probably, I know TJ said that Hall Brawls is his favorite elimination, but I kind of felt like this was probably my least favorite one for the season so far. Sadly, it gets a little bit of a double thumbs down for me at this point.
Yeah, so Sarah from Nerdtainment, I discuss this episode with her tomorrow, and she was asking me, she's like, why is the Hall Brawl like a favorite and a staple? She's like, I hated it. And I'm trying to think why it's likable or enjoyable. And I think for me, it's from, you know, back in the day, getting a Hall Brawl was a treat. It was like it came very rarely, and the matchup was always two people that had some beef that were of the same size. You know what I mean? And so maybe that's what it is. But for the last, I don't know, maybe 8 years, I don't remember enjoying a Hall Brawl, really. I was just kind of like, maybe the Tori Jenny one was surprising how that one went down. So maybe that one was enjoyable, but I don't really care for a Hall Brawl anymore because it just seems like people are unevenly matched, and I'm worried for the safety for the second person. Like, yeah, Amber B, I get it. She's won 2 Hall Brawls, but they were against 2 people that are half her size. I don't think that's entertaining, you know?
Yeah, I agree. One thing that I think I will agree with Chris on what makes this hollow is that once Angela and Ben vote in Leo, which is it was like the safest choice that they could have done. It's one Big Brother, one Survivor player. There's only one guy that's not part of Big Brother or Survivor, and it was going to be Leo. So I was like, we're getting a lot of game talk for just throwing in Leo at the end of this. But there was no like fight when he went down there. Like once they said his name, he walked down there and he instantly dropped his head. So it made it seem like somebody who was already defeated now having to kick him while he's down, or now tackle him while he's now defeated. Because he even says in the exit reviews that, I mean, and so did Tyson. I mean, Enzo's just bigger. He's taller. He's got more muscle. He's got a couple more pounds on him. And I mean, what is Leo gonna do? It's kind of like Wes going up against Big Easy. I mean, is he gonna like jump in and take him for a ride? Or I mean, like, there's really not much he could have done, and he was defeated before going in there. So it was just really, I think that's what leads to it being a hollow victory as well, where it's just like, well, this was an unsatisfying end to one of probably the worst episodes so far in the Challenge USA.
Yeah, it kind of like the same feeling as, well, not as bad, but close to when Rogan and Jay. I was like, I couldn't stand that elimination. And like obviously like the Fessy with what's his name? Kyle. And I was just like, I mean, Kyle definitely handled it like a champ, but like I don't want to see a broken part, like limbs, like, or fingers, digits, like I don't know. I don't like that. It's not entertaining. And like, I get that, you know, I'm happy that Leo went in and he actually gave it a go. But the fact that he hung his head down means that he kind of knew that he was already defeated. He was going to try, but like chances are doesn't have enough mass to be able to beat this guy.
Shout out to your boy Nelson, Drew, for I think putting in probably one of the best performances against Fessy that we've seen in a whole brawl in that season where they went up
in his eyes. Is that the time?
Yeah, I think it was exactly that time. And I mean, if you look at that was such a mismatch as well. And Nelson really gave him a run for his money. Like, it really puts into perspective how much of a physical beast Nelson is. And yeah, again, it was sad to see him go that specific season in such a manner as well.
He threw himself in there to save Corey. Like, can't really
do
that for him. But
true that. I just wanted to say hello to Dolores.
Hi,
very,
Dolores.
very loyal listener of our shows. You're not late. I'm kind of making everybody fit my schedule for these couple of weeks that I'm in South Africa, and I'm so appreciative for everybody. I'm so appreciative for everybody that have accommodated me so I can visit my family. It's been a lot of fun being back in South Africa, but we will be back to normal, not next week, the week after that. So things will normalize again. But at the moment, we're sort of trying to do it whenever we can and fitting it in. And with that, I think, Drew, we're sort of towards the end of this. Well, let's get into points. I actually went and had to recreate the draft tier on this because I actually didn't have it because I'm on a different computer. But you guys tell me if I've got anything wrong here. Well, I could, but for some other reason, it reset it on this computer. Yeah, I know exactly who's on whose team. I just need to make sure I've actually not missed anybody out. But I do believe those are all the players that are currently still left in the game, unless you guys tell me any differently.
Looks good.
Yeah, it was good.
Coming into this one. Yeah. So we obviously in this episode, we will be losing Leo, sadly. So Drew, you're going to be down to 3 people with Danny, Justine, and David. Tough times there. I feel like Justine and David, those are the people. But then again, David got the odd confessional here. He was ready to go in. He was never going to be blindsided in any of these shows.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for me going on. It's gonna be a tough uphill battle. I mean, I'm fully supporting my queen, Justine. I need Danny to get some money, and I'm worried for David. I am very worried for David.
I would throw David in for sure. Now that at this point, everybody will be qualified. It's like David. If I was a guy, I'd be like, I want to go against David most likely. So, or Enzo. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what are we looking at, Drew? What are we looking at points wise? What happened this last week?
Well, I am in 3rd place still, but I've hit into the 200s. I got 15 points. So last week I had 186 points. I got 15 points this week and got 201 with my leading score as Leo, as he's walking out the door with 43 points. And Justine is in 2nd place with 42 points. My next highest, you may ask? Oh, that's Danny at 29 points. So I am sweating bullets right now. Coming in at 2nd place is Team Chantel. She had 225 points last week. You got plus 16 points. So now you're at 241.
Jesus.
I am officially 40 points behind you. So I'm taking a big L on this season, but you're doing pretty well, getting 241. But my gosh, can we just take?
Oh, you had all of the Ben confessionals this episode. Yeah.
Let's take a
Oh,
look
really?
at Chris. Big Chris here. Started off with 262 last week. So even by Chantel getting plus 16 points, I mean, you got 241. Didn't even meet up with Chris from last week's point total, but he got a big whopping 44 points.
Wow.
This week, getting to 306.
Whoa.
A 65 point lead on Chantel and over 105 points over me. Yes, Ben had an incredible episode, not only winning the daily challenge, but he had, I think, 12 confessionals. He had 12 confessionals. So he got a total of 17 points alone this episode, outdoing both Chantel and Mai's total point of what our overall teams got in this just 1 week. Yeah, you have 306 points, with your leading scorers being Sarah at 47 points. My gosh, what? And both Alyssa and Dom have 45 points each. What? That is so weird. And Tyson
is weird.
Team Chantel's number one scorer with 58 total points. And I think he's the leading scorer of the year so far. And Cache is your second point getter with 42 points.
Did she get any points this episode? I don't even think so.
Who's winning the battle?
3. She got 3 confessionals this episode. She said she
who's winning the battle between Angela and Sarah. Really interested to know who's winning the battle in points.
Sarah, 47 points. Angela, 40 points. So only 40. Even with a win this episode, she only has 40 total points.
Tatiana is enjoying the way you describe the points, even though clearly you're in pain as you're doing it.
True.
And I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked, to be honest, that Enzo and Dom this late in the game is still in it. I remember picking them like right to the end of my draft and being like, I just have to pick these guys because I feel so bad. They're OGs, from these seasons, and I have to put them on. And they're like the blue chip stock for me. And I'm pretty sure there was a lot of people who gave me a lot of grief for picking Alyssa, and it seems like she's been
we wouldn't have
doing really well.
Alyssa grief. We knew, maybe
because she was like, I think she was my third female, and you were like, she's too high. When I did,
I don't think so, because I knew
someone
that
did.
had talked about her really highly. So she was someone that I wanted, but I probably would have taken that round. Maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe I completely was chirping you. I don't know, but
I don't. Yeah, I mean that's usual. Like that's just how it goes. Because normally, the takes are a little bit different. But hey, I think that this has been crazy for me. I might have to go to the casino after this, put it all on red and say, hey, let's go for it, because I've never experienced this in any of our drafts. I've never experienced being in the lead this much. So it can still all go very horribly wrong, mind you, because there's a few of you that have still done it. I mean, you still have, like Chantel specifically still has Desi, Tyson, and Angela in the game. And those are all still very heavy hitters. So I can still see some things happening.
So I do want to mention that it's interesting because Chantel has the number one leading scorer with 58 total points with Tyson. She also has the lowest point getter so far, and it's not David. It's Desi with 23 points so far. So she needs to pick it up. She's not getting a lot of confessionals.
Well, it looks like
Desi
she wins the daily next week, right? So
Desi is like your David. I mean, come on now. Like this is
she's jacked, but
good.
like she has not been doing anything this season, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it looks like she wins another daily next week, right? So maybe she'll get some confessionals. Maybe she'll get into some drama, right? So
yeah, you never know.
Get some more points, Desi.
The only good thing about next week is that 2 of my 3 players cannot be eliminated or in the hot seat because it is a women's elimination. So I'm just going to be praying for the fact that Justine will not go into elimination and possibly lose. So, I mean, that's the silver lining here that I'm going for. But yeah, it's garbage. I'm garbage. So yeah.
Listen, Drew,
challenge card.
Listen, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. Your position has literally been my position for the last 2 All-Star season. Like I end up going into the finale with one player. So, I feel your pain. It's not fun. I get it. I've been there.
Baby Ice.
We'll get a
am I
turn.
the new Chris? Am I the new Chris? Do I need a co-captain from to help me
You
out?
might have to. Listen. Baby Ice coached me through the previous season, and then I had the opportunity to make some better educated decisions going into this one. So I think you need some time with Coach Ice so he can set you right before the next season.
Struggling at art? No, I have not won enough because we keep doing competitions. There could never be enough.
I love this. Yeah, I agree. Definitely, Drew schooled us a few times. It's time for us to win for a change here. All right, I think that is it. Unless there's anything you guys feel like we haven't touched on in this episode. Nah, we're too good. We've touched on it all. For everyone that's still around, thank you so much for taking part in the live conversation. We always love having you guys around. Next week will be a little bit different. We may move the time a little bit, so keep an eye on the channel and the community tab. I will put it out there, and I'm sure Chantel and Drew will do the same on theirs. I will actually be flying back to New Zealand at the same time that we normally do this podcast, so we might have to change the time or drop it later, do it live a day early or something. We'll figure it out. We'll put it on the channels. Thank you so much for understanding while I'm traveling. I really appreciate you guys making the time, jumping on a bit earlier as well. Things will go back to normal the week after next week, I promise. And be sure to check out Reality Realness with 3 S's for all the content that is dropping there at the moment. Give us the quick rundown. What's the shows you're covering at the moment, Chantal?
Well, and we're like, one is ending, which is wild. So Love Island USA season 4 will be doing, the second to last episode is tonight. Then my co-host Tamika will be back tomorrow. And so on Sunday afternoon, we'll do a recap and kind of an updating her from what she's been gone. And then Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, we'll do talk about the finale and what went down. And so that show's ending. Still doing The Bachelorette on when I do it after the episode. Tuesdays doing The Amazing Race, and then Wednesdays obviously back with Michelle and Matthew. Fridays with you guys. Saturdays with Nerdtainment. I think that is it right now. Yeah, I got to bring in some new shows because I'm gonna have so much free time without Love Island. Like, what am I gonna do with my life?
Yeah, well, chat more to us. We'll work something out. Drew, what is happening on Angel Cake Entertainment Channel over the next week?
Okay, so Endurance on Sundays, and we are getting to the final season, Jonathan's season from Survivor 42. So we just started his season. Challenge clips on Monday, challenge videos on Tuesday and Friday, and then Thursday is a review and recap, and as well as a whole bunch of stuff on patreon.com/angelcakevids. If you are a patron, I do extra content there on Wednesdays and Saturdays, like Tiny Table Talk Live. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, well, check out the Nullified Take channel next week for the next episode, I guess, as we're recapping it. Also, we're going to finish off Survivor South Africa. I haven't spoken about the finale yet. I went to the finale party. I have got a lot of insights talking to the players. It was crazy. Some of them were very different from what they were on the show. Like one of the most controversial players, like one of the most abrasive players, Pinty from the season. We won't talk placements. Chantel will know who this is because she watched the original seasons that Pinty was in. Pinty was so different to meet in person because she was like all hugs all the time, not confrontational at all. And it blows your mind when you meet these people in real life. So I will have some gossip about.
I didn't see him in your
Pinty.
pictures. No, but did you?
Pinty.
I'm also asking if you met Chappie.
Oh, no, he was not there. Sadly, he couldn't make it. But yeah, a lot of the players were there. He was one of the players that sadly didn't make it. But I should have some more stuff to talk about in regards to that. Looking forward to chatting about that on Monday, Sunday evening in the US. So keep an eye out for that as we talk about that. And sounds like I might have to start talking about The Amazing Race pretty soon. I have not been online, so that will happen on the Nullify Take channel as well, because I have committed to that show as well. But until next week, thank you so much. Remember to put a like, subscribe on all the channels as listed on here. The Nullify Take, Reality Realness with 3 S's, and Angel Cake Entertainment channel. See you guys next week. Bye.